we've had your submissions for a while, we've read them.
Brilliant.
We just need the most salient points put to us for
Is it
consideration.
okay for us to take a short video of our own for our own records?
Is members of the committee okay for that to be video?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't think we can veto that.
Well, let's just clear it anyway. It's all right. I'm not worried about it.
And can I just double check? I sent just the supplementary page yesterday. Just check I've got that. Just a few examples.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So the great, ready. So the New Zealand Outdoors Party is a registered political party that will be standing in the forthcoming election. We represent the people's voice and for connection between people and people in the environment. We have made the submission in writing already, but the crux of it is that we're concerned about the APEC amendments. There is a very real sensitivity about guns in New Zealand at the moment as a result of the events in Christchurch last year and the withdrawal of guns from fit and proper persons who had a long history of having guns. There's the effect of this bill, and in particular draft section 30 would be to allow foreign persons to bring guns into New Zealand who don't have approved fit and proper purpose status. Now, we know it's only for the APEC purposes, but the members of APEC include countries who have completely different cultures to New Zealand, who don't understand our laws, who don't understand our respect for human rights, and who don't understand that the relationship we have with guns in New Zealand, and who don't understand the sensitivity we have with guns in New Zealand. There have been a history of cases overseas where guns have been abused by foreign persons, including the case I've given in my submission of the woman police officer, Yvonne Fletcher, who was shot from the Libyan embassy in London some years ago, where there was a lack of respect of one state for the rights of the host country. We also have our own example of the Rainbow Warrior in New Zealand, where a foreign state came to New Zealand and abused our laws and our people. It's a serious problem when a foreign country and who are protected by state immunity can bring guns into New Zealand, because if they do abuse our laws and they do cause harm, they can't be prosecuted. And there's no remedy for New Zealand citizens. It's an abuse in our submission of the trust of New Zealand people to modify the laws on an ad hoc basis. And we urge against that amendment. We understand that foreign visitors who come to New Zealand want to be protected, but we believe that the remedy that's proposed creates a bigger risk than the remedy of having our own police and our own people who are understanding of our laws and accountable to the people of New Zealand providing that service. And if we don't have enough...
Just stop you there. We have tested this particular issue with the officials who are advising on the bill. And I'm wondering if we might get a comment from the officials about the suggestion that foreign agents who do bring firearms into New Zealand under provisions of this bill will be exempt from prosecution.
As we outlined our initial reports this year, and we're working on further advice based on the submissions last week, that they will be prosecuted.
Okay.
Because the international principles of state immunity, generally speaking, if you're representing a foreign state...
Well, they're not representing a foreign state, that's the point. But look, I really only interrupted you and got that comment to let you know that we are taking that issue seriously.
Thank you.
And giving it proper consideration.
Thank you for that. And I do urge you to look beyond the initial advice, because the general international law is that state immunity is a really powerful principle, and we've seen it happen time and time again, and we saw it really with the Rainbow Warrior, where special deals were done that undermined the trust of New Zealand citizens in the state. And that is a separate issue for us that we also believe is worthy of consideration. There is a great distrust and a growing distrust of New Zealanders for the state and the government of New Zealand. And it's arising out of a whole range of issues. It's arising out of the gun law reform. It's arising out of medicinal cannabis law reforms, where people were promised safe, affordable access. And I myself presented on that petition of Rose Renton. And what's been happening is the bureaucrats have been capturing the reforms and not delivering what the people have been asking for. And so there's a disconnect between the views of the public and the outcomes that we're getting. And I don't think it's any fault attributed to our members of parliament. I think our members of parliament are genuinely wanting to do the right thing, but I think there are gaps in the advice that they're being getting, and they're not being given all of the information that they need and all of the alternatives and different solutions.
Well, please accept that the public advice, even on this bill, is varied and quite broad. And there's no single constant in opinion. And so our job is to work our way through that to make sure we get something that's going to work.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. And the other issue from our consultation within our party and with our expert advisors is a concern from police members, where they call it blue on blue, I think, where there's one team, the official police, and then there's a team of other protectors with guns. But if there's any lack of coordination between the groups, we have a risk of our police seeing somebody with a gun, thinking that they're an enemy, and they're actually an international representative who are legitimately there, but just because of the different styles and uniforms and ways things are done, we have a real risk, we believe, of our police thinking that an overseas person shouldn't be having a gun, or vice versa. There could be a possible confusion with an overseas person not knowing that our police, I mean, the ones that have got uniforms are fine, but there are also the undercover police having guns. And so this risk of the good guys shooting the good guys through poor communication. So there's all sorts of...
In the interest of time, do your other members want to have something to say?
No, they're here to support. But if you have any questions, yeah.
I just have one. I mean, do you think we should be hosting APEC?
No.
Well, then that's the fundamental issue, isn't it?
I guess.
No, but I'm asking them.
If I may, just with the coronavirus outbreak, it's something to consider, that whether or not it's actually something that we're forward thinking that is going to be contained by the APEC date, and at the moment it's not looking like it could be. And if it's not, well, we should really be, making such a big, bold law change now. It might not be necessary for us to be doing this. More so, that we should be committing to the rest of the world that's trying to shut borders and contain the virus outbreak.
Our primary point is we think that the needs of New Zealanders should be put first. And while we respect international obligations, we've actually got to put New Zealanders' culture first and be careful to ensure that the government is taking New Zealanders with them in their decisions, rather than being seen to be making decisions for non-transparent reasons that are losing the trust of New Zealanders.
Well, I take issue with your suggestion it's non-transparent. We wouldn't be here today going through this process if it was non-transparent. Second point, just on that, and I'm not meaning to have an argument with you, but New Zealand is a country that enjoys a lifestyle far in advance of anything a domestic economy alone could provide for us. We are a trading nation. We trade into much bigger populations. So something like APEC, while you say, sort of acquiescing to it, we actually get far more out of those relationships than in many ways we contribute.
Yeah, that's interesting, because that's a political view. Our view is that New Zealand has very important resources of our own. We're not looking after our people. Look at the disparity in the wealth of our people, the mental health issues. I had a meeting last night with a young man, a highly thriving young man, who has got telling me that young people, huge proportion of our young people are mentally disturbed because they don't see a future because of all of the problems. And yet we live in paradise. It should be paradise. We have sunshine. We have every resource we need. But something has gone wrong with the political approach we've taken over the years. and we stand for the people to try and get some balance back into the thinking.
Sorry,
Last question.
just to bring it back to your submission and the bill, and thank you for focusing your submission on the particulars of the bill, and not, on obviously we all have political views, but this is, very focused. I just wanted to thank you for bringing up the Rainbow Warrior, because it really does crystallise the crux of this, which is that different nations and different security forces of different nations have an idea about what protest is, and what freedom of expression might be, and what that looks like, and have shown a propensity for taking that into their own hands and committing violence.
Yes.
And that was France.
Yes, a friendly nation.
Yeah. So I do think that example really does emphasise what we're trying to prevent here, which is an overstep and an overreach of the use of force. And we're now allowing forces from different nations with different ideas about when and where and how use of force can be used in terms of protest, to bring in military-style semi-automatics, which we've
just got rid of, with a lot of distress for New
Yes.
Zealanders in some cases, yes.
So I think I take that as the central kind of essence of your submission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Sorry,
Appreciate
can we
it.
just have a quick... we discussed the other stuff this year.